Now, one thing that I love to do is pipe cupcakes. So for this week's video tutorial, I thought I would do another piping techniques video. So whether you're new to piping cupcakes or you're just looking for a fun effect to create, in this week's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make these really pretty cupcakes. Now, each cupcake has 4 different effects on the top, just making this really pretty design. Okay, let's get started. So in order to make these really fun cupcakes, first of all, I've got my vanilla cupcakes. Now, I will put a link in the description below to the recipe that I used to make these cupcakes. I've then got some piping bags and my piping tips that we'll run through as we go. Now, I've also got a small batch of buttercream that I've divided into these 4 bowls and just coloured them in a dark pink using the Colour Splash Raspberry. I've then got a slightly lighter pink using the Colour Splash Light Pink. To create this purple, I've mixed some of the Colour Splash Violet with a small amount of the raspberry to make it on the pinkier side. And lastly, I've got this bright turquoise or teal colour, and for this I've used the Colour Splash Jade with a small hint of blue. Now, on my cupcakes, I'm going to be finishing these off with some sprinkles. So I've tried to match my buttercream to the cotton candy sprinkle mix by Happy Sprinkles. Now, Happy Sprinkles have also given me a 10% off code for you. So if you want to get 10% off any of their sprinkle mixes, all you have to do is enter HappyLinz10 at the checkout of their website or on the website of the cake decorating company. Now, I will put all the details in the description below. So the first piping tip that I'm going to be using is the 105. Now, this is quite a small piping tip with just around 1.5 centimeters opening at the bottom, and it has these cutouts where you have a circle at the bottom and then a straight line, and this is going to give us a really fun effect on the top of our cupcake. I'm going to start by filling my piping bag with my buttercream, snipping it off the end of my piping bag, dropping in the nozzle and just pulling it tight to secure it. Now, you may have seen this in some of my other piping techniques videos, but I always use a glass to hold my piping bag so that I can easily pop that buttercream in. Now, if your buttercream has been sitting in the bowl for a while, just make sure you give it a little mix with your spatula just to beat out any air bubbles that have built up. You then want to push that buttercream to the end of the bag until you can see it poking out from the end of your piping tip. Just twist that end to secure it in place. Now, I always hold it in the palm of my hand, just keeping my thumb on that end to keep it nice and tight. I can then apply a small amount of pressure to the end of the bag to allow that buttercream to flow out. Now, this first technique looks great either with this piping tip or you can use one of the open star piping tips. And all we're trying to do is create a kind of a wave effect, so it comes up at the top and you just bring it down onto the cupcake. Now, I'm going to start by coming in around 1 centimeter from the edge. So I'm pushing it away and just pulling it back and pull down onto the cupcake. You can see that this piping tip just has this really fun texture, and we have these quite deep lines that run through. Now, I'm going to stop at 3, but if you wanted, you could continue over the whole cupcake. Now, the next piping tip that I'm going to be using is a slightly bigger piping tip, and this one has around a 2 centimeter opening at the bottom and is the Wilton 2D. Now, this one you've probably seen me use before. It's a closed star tip, and this is going to give us a little rosette on the top of our cupcake. Now, taking my 2D piping tip, I'm going to come at the other side of my cupcake, and I want my rosette swirl just to hide the bottom of previous effect. Applying a small amount of pressure and starting in the center of my space, I'm going to work my way around from the inside out. Once that gap has been filled up, I'm going to stop applying pressure, and on the side, just pull the bag away. So to go with those other piping techniques, I'm going to be adding some waves down the side. So for this, I'm using the 104. Now, this is a rose petal tip and has this teardrop shape, which is wider at the bottom and just comes into a point at the top. This one has an opening of around 1 centimeter from tip to tip. Filled my piping bag with some of my teal color buttercream. Now, on one side, we have this slight gap, and I'm going to do a wave effect. So you want to make sure that the wider part of your piping tip is against the surface of your cupcake. Apply a small amount of pressure, and when that starts to come out, I'm going to create a wave effect just by moving my piping bag back and forward, just filling up that space, tucking it into the edge of my rosette. And lastly, I'm going to be going in with the number 22 piping tip. Now you can get the number 22 or the number 21 is also very similar. It's just a really small open star piping tip, and the opening at the end is around 5mm, and we have these teeth cut out all the way around. With this piping tip, I'm going to create some small little buttercream domes, applying a small amount of pressure, and once that buttercream has expanded to around 1 centimetre, stop applying pressure and just pull away. And I'm going to fill up the gap that we have left on the top of our cupcake. Then take in some of those happy sprinkles, and I'm just going to pop these on the top. So we have a combination of different shapes, hundreds and thousands, and also these small metallic balls and long strands. Hearts onto there and some stars. So there we have a really fun cupcake technique which uses 4 different piping tips to create 4 very different looking styles. Now you can use this in any colour on the top of your cupcakes, or if you want to pipe these on the side of your cakes, or maybe on the top of a tray bake. I really hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial and will find it useful if you want to pipe your own cupcakes. Now I do have lots more piping technique videos over on the Cake Spanish YouTube channel if you want to check those out, and I will put links in the description below. I'll also put links to all the tools that I've used throughout today's video, and if you haven't already, don't forget you can subscribe so you don't miss any other tutorials. So until next time, bye!